Okay. Yeah. We're starting, and good evening once more. So last time we stopped at project closure reports that should be produced by a project manager to close a project. And this is the document we reviewed, the last document we reviewed in our last class. So, and tonight we have to start from training materials. So we're going to be fast because we want to finish everything about documentation this week so that we can dive deeper into the project management. Because why we need to dive deeper, because I'm planning for us to start our projects, if possible, next week, so that we can cover enough techniques you can start using immediately in our project where we are going to start. So we don't have time. We are not going to be waiting, because if we have to wait, if we need to cover, like I keep saying, if we need to cover 2 live projects, it's not possible to do it in 3 months. Okay, let's look at training material documentation. These are documents or resources developed to train project team members or end users on project deliverables. So mainly the project manager is the duty of the business analyst to create this kind of document, but project manager must make sure that this document is created. Is very, very important. If you are implementing a solution where people do not understand this solution you are implementing, it's very, very necessary to create a training materials. It can be video materials, it can be any kind of material that can help people. We call it how to videos, or that will help the end users understand this particular solution. Every project should have a training material, no matter even if it's not even the solution, if it's like a construction site. Is very, very important that even if it's a house, you document how that house should be used, describe key functionalities of that building and things like that. So that is why it's important to create have training materials ready before you finish implementation, so that immediately you finish implementation, you start training the end users. But it's not easy as we are speaking. So many people will struggle to do that if you are not well or properly guided. If you don't have a plan to create your training material, it's going to be difficult. So this document will help you to have a plan on how to create training materials. For instance, if we're implementing this Nearest platform from the scratch, a lot of people are struggling. How do we use this platform? You have to create a training material from the beginning that people will use. If we're implementing, like for instance, ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, for an accounting and finance department, maybe the key users in that, like account receivable, account payable, all the accountants, payroll officers, they've not used that particular software before or that particular product or solution before. You have to train them. So you need to create training materials in order to train them. The training material you are going to create is different from just normal material I'm using here for for lecturing. We need a training material with, some of them will come with key screen, capture a lot of key screen while training, step-by-step sequence of how to use that particular software or solution. So let's review this document. Looking at this document is a simple training material example for software usage. The topic, you have to capture all the training based on topics, and then you describe the topic, you create step-by-step and additional resources like screenshot of key pages. Looking at here, starting from logging into the software, which is a topic you need to, for instance, we are talking about nearas.com. You say logging into nearas.com. Here you see the section explain how to access the software from the first time. And then you come to the step-by-step. First step here is open a web browser. You have to be detailed. You know, because you need to be patient. Being patient, having it at the back of your mind that the person that is going to use this software have never used this software before. Don't just feel like, after all, everybody know how to log into a software. Everybody do not know how to do that. Like you see, we are using a lot of software, like even YouTube. Some people do not know how to do some of all those things. So when we see people struggling in this, we have to be patient and help them to understand how to use it, you know. So we start from the basic by open a web browser and navigate to, you know, website address, enter username and password in the login field, then click the login button. This might seem so elementary, but that is the way it should be. And after then, you need to capture a key screen where the user can see with, if possible, arrows on how to do that. So that is how you do documentation or create training material, user guide, they call it user guide for end users. Let's look at another topic here. Create a new project. This session guide users through the process of setting up a new project within the software. And here, number one is click on the project tab and then click on create new project button. Number three, enter project name and description, and then select any relevant project setting. 5, click create project button. Then short video tutorial on creating this project. So this is how you do that. For instance, look at this software we're using here for this thing. Let me log in again. So looking at this, like adding a new project, If you are trying to teach a user who have never used this FreeCam before, you say, this is it, start from the scratch. All these processes, you need to describe them. It's either you start from the scratch or you use existing. So if I have to do that, you click on this button, you start from the scratch, you click, you see, that is, you have to describe the sequence and then you enter information, just like the way I'm describing it as the person that's creating training material. This is the process. So that the person following your training guide should be able to create what is expected of the person, any task or any deliverable or any action or activity that is required. The person should be able to do that. So that is the way you do that to help the person use the software you are developing. No matter how good, no matter how beautiful the software you have implemented, and people or users cannot use it, it's not effective. Effectiveness is that users can use that particular software and be happy. After it, while rating their experience, they should rate their experience at least 4 stars out of 5 stars, showing that they are satisfied. Let's look at another topic here, adding tasks to a project. This session explains how to define tasks within a project. Number 1, open the desired project, click the Add Tasks button. Number 3, add the task name and description. Number 4, set a due date and assign the task to a team member. And then if number 5, click Save the task. If possible, create a short video, interactive video, to show how this can be done. So that is how, if you are planning to create a user guide, this is the how you have to create a user guide. You know, so people do that in so many videos or in so many documentation. So many companies or software developers capture that in their blog section. Some people capture it in frequently asked questions, whichever way, or some capture that in their how-to. They call it how-to section of their website, where all this documentation will be captured. So every solution you are implementing, have it at the back of your mind that this must be done. It's not the duty, like I said, it's not the duty of project manager to create this document. It's the duty of a business analyst. As a business analyst, these are some of the things you have to be doing, because you are the person that participated actively in designing and implementing this solution. So you should be able to tell people how to use the software or product or solution that you have implemented. Then the last one here, we can have as many topics as possible, but just capture a few topics here that can help you to get started if you are planning to create a training material for the project you've just implemented or you are implementing. Uploading file. This session covers the process of uploading relevant file to a project. The first thing you need to do here is open the desired project, click the Files tab. Number 3, click Upload File button. Number 4, select file you want to upload from your computer, and then click Upload button. So here you can list of supported file formats that can be uploaded like PDF and the rest of them. If possible, capture small video on how to do this. So it's very, very important that You as a BA, you must learn how to be creating small videos to educate people on how to use softwares. That's why so many of us, any small thing, every company, every of their product, every small thing, people rush to YouTube to watch how to do something. All this how to do something are small videos created by business analysts of different companies. And people are now capitalizing on that. Even if a company do not describe their product very well, a lot of people, content creators, will rush and learn a particular software and then create video guide. And you see they started getting a lot of views because they are solving a lot of problem for people. So this is the way to get about doing that. It can help you if you are planning to become a content creator and have viewers, create quality content. You must be creating content that is solving people's problem. Okay, having seen a way of documentation of training materials, this is just a sample. It can help you to start doing it. So we move on to the next activity, which is going to be procurement documents, including request for proposal, statement of work, contract, and vendor evaluation for procured goods and services. In projects, we know that we need to do a lot of procurement during project execution. It's not only in construction, even in software development, we do procurement. Some of the white labels we are using, we need to procure them. We need to procure the licenses. For instance, if we are trying to implement a Dynamics 365 ERP or Salesforce ERP, some of these software from all these major vendors, or let's say from vendors, you need to do procurement. So you must know how to go about doing that procurement. You don't just start buying. There is, best practice in buying something so that it can be retired properly within the company, and the accounting. All these things, they need documentation for all this. So you must know how to do procurement. So that's the project manager or whoever is doing it for you. But in project management, we do procurement. Okay, looking at this simple procurement document example, we have sections, description, and information. The first section here is the document title, which is a request for quotation. Information here is for goods and services being procured. And then you have to capture the company information, issuing company name and address and contact address. And then here information here is your company name, your company address, and your company information. Then RFQ, that is a request for quotation issue date. Here you need to capture the date for the RFQ document, and what you need to put there is just dates. And then the closing date for the quotation, you need to capture the closing date for the quotation. And the project description, you need to briefly describe the project that is involved. Here you briefly describe the goods and services you required and its intended use for the project. Then specification, detailed list of requirements for goods and services, list technical specification, example, functionalities, capabilities, define quality standard, specify delivery requirements, and location. These are where what you need to capture within the specification. And then evaluation criteria. Here you need to state how quotation will be evaluated. Indicates the weighting of the different factors such as price, quality, experience. Mention any specific evaluation criteria such as warranty terms, customer services within the evaluation criteria. Then here is a submission instruction. How to submit quotations. Specify preferred format. Example, email, online form. Mention any required document, required document. Example, company profile, references. So this is how, although different companies, you have to follow their method of submitting quotation. So if you find out their method, you capture the method for submitting quotation. Some will provide a form for you to just fill a form. Some you prepare the quotation as a document and send it as an email attachment. And then contact information. Who to contact for questioning about the RFQ, name and contact detail of the procurement officer. So at times you have procurement officer that does this thing for companies. So if you need to buy anything, you go through the procurement officer or the procurement unit. But in so many small projects, I've seen so many companies don't have such procurement officer or procurement unit. So you as a project manager, that's what I'm saying, if you don't have such people, you should be able to plan and buy some necessary materials you need for your project without having to go through anybody. Then we have what we call text, plan, and test cases. These are documents outlining the testing approach, strategies, and criteria for validating project deliverables. So this test is equally conducted not only in software development, but it's very, very popular in software development. And people don't talk about like testing, but I've seen so many tests be carried out in construction industry, you know, and for instance, the construction industry, before they start laying foundation, like the amount of even block, the amount, the quantity of cement and sand for a block need to be tested and stored. All these things are called tests, you know, specification. So they capture the standard which they will use on to keep testing various standards of that particular building. For instance, anything happen, they can look for this kind of specification. All these are tests. But the one that is going to, I know a lot of people are going to be applying their knowledge not only in software development, on IT, although most of the things we are talking in our project here is really IT project, but having knowledge of other areas is very, very important as well, because a project manager is a project manager. But let's look at what we have here. We have test plan and test cases example, and the one we are going to use for this example is for an e-commerce website. So the first thing you need to create, if you are designing a solution, before you start implementing the solution, you must state how the testing is going to be conducted. Testing is to validate the quality of the products the quality of the outcome. When they finish producing, you need to test the quality or the standard against the acceptance criteria. So this is the main reason why we have to do that. Every work we do must be tested. It's a must. You can't bypass this. So, and to do that, before the implementation starts, there must be a strategy for testing. Number one is test plan, and number two is test cases. So, test plan is to document the strategy and the objective of the test, when to carry out the test, who is going to carry out the test, and the outcome, the scope, and everything. So let's look at this test plan. The project under this section, the project name is e-commerce website testing. The tester's name, you provide the tester's name, like you can say John Doe. And then the test date, you have to state the particular date that test is going to be carried out. The test objective, you need to state the objective of this test. For instance, to ensure website functionality meet all requirements. Verify smooth user experience for online shopping, and identify and report bugs or errors. That is the purpose of this testing. Then the scope, you need to capture the scope that need to be tested. Here you see this test plan covers functionalities like product browsing, search, shopping cart, checkout, and user account management. So you have to state the scope. That is the boundary that need to be covered during the testing activities. Then you see testing tools. You need to specify the kind of tools that are used to be testing. We have manual testing, which can be done by anybody. So many testers can conduct a test through code, but most of the time, what we do is just carry out a simple UAT testing. UAT means user acceptance testing. So list any specific testing tools, such as Selenium for automation. These are mainly for digitalize, but in so many cases, we don't involve in doing that. But if we are doing such testing automation or things like that, special tools we use to do that. When we are using Selenium for automation, we involve special testers or quality assurance officers. Conventional business analyst does not involve in this kind of testing. So, but as a business analyst, you should be able to know basic tests and should be able to conduct basic tests that doesn't involve this Selenium for automation. But because this particular test automation is about testing the code quality, the quality of the code, and so many BAs do not have this experience. You need to be able to understand this if you are a developer. And if you are a tester, a trained tester, most of the trained testers are trained. They understand code very well to be able to carry out this kind of testing. It's very, very easy for those who understand it. And why they do this kind of automation testing is that you might see a very big code, like a whole of e-commerce application. The test code is so much that if you do it manually, at times it will even take you even 1 year to finish conducting the testing. But if you are using a software like Selenium, Selenium can carry out these tests within 2 hours or even finish testing a whole, or all they need to do is that the software will run through the code and fish out where there is bug, break, code break, or a lot of within the code, and the developers should be able to see where they need to go back and do the bug fixing. So, but this is for high, is a bit advanced for this particular training. Then pass/fail criteria. While conducting a test, you should be able to state functionality works as intended and user experience is smooth. So you need to create a pass or fail scenario. So if after testing and a particular feature is within the acceptance criteria, then you have to pass that particular test. But if it's below the acceptance criteria, then it needs to be failed and then have to go back for bug fixing and then come back again for regressional testing. So that is where this pass or fail comes in. So in most states, it's either a test pass or the test fail. It's a two-way thing. So for instance, if what you are testing is a login page, most of the time login page, the acceptance criteria is that while a user provide valid username or email and password, they should be able to log into the particular application. In a situation where a user provide valid login username, email address, and password and couldn't log into the application, it has to be failed exercise, and that particular user story or feature need to go back for bug fixing. So then you have schedule here. Testing will be conducted over a period of days, or so you need to, at times, if you are testing a big application, it might not be easy to finish the testing within 1 day or 2 days. A testing can go on for like a week or even 2 weeks, so you have to schedule the activities. This is plan, we'll call it test plan, so that whoever going to be involved in that testing must know what to do, the days, plan of activities, area to be tested, and the objective for the testing. So once you have a plan like this called test plan, so handing it over to the relevant tester or the business analyst is not going to be difficult for the person to carry out his or her test. In most cases, it's not the duty of project manager to produce this document. This is the duty of business analyst or tester. If you have a tester within the project team, then the tester needs to work closely with the business analyst to create a test plan and test cases. So let's look at test cases. When the test starts, these are various cases that need to be tested. If you are creating a test cases, you have to create so many test cases. For instance, a unique ID. Every test case must have a unique ID. Like here you see TC01, meaning T and C here is test case 01. To describe what need to be, or let's say title of the test, or the, I call it the title or the user story. So here is search for existing product by name. This is a user story. It can be a title as well. So you describe it. Then you create steps that need to be followed during this test case. So Here is enter a valid product name in the search bar. Click the search button or press enter. It's just like you trying to search for something. This is the, so once you enter these steps, this is expected result. You should be looking for expected result. If what you are getting is different from the expected result from the test case you have or produced, then it means that it didn't work. So, and with that, let's see. So pass or fail. So within here, you need to select whether it's pass or fail. So let's add this. So insert drop down. Say here. And then fail. So within this, need to capture all these test cases. We must provide whether they pass or fail. Sorry. So, and then we need to add another this in here called remark. So now, if you are carrying out a test, after conducting this test and you didn't get the expected result, then you come here, you select fail, and you have to give a remark. Remark here is you need to state what goes wrong, what happened, or what is expected. You need to put a remark here while this didn't pass. What is the problem while conducting this test? You need to put a remark here. So that is how we are going to be conducting all the tests. All the key features or all the user stories you captured. Sorry, some of you might be sounding strange. I'm using technical jargons like user stories, acceptance criteria at this moment. We're going to deal with all these names in our next course, which is business analysis. But we just need to look at this document, and I have to mention what needs to be mentioned in this particular document. This is activity. As a matter of fact, this is a core function of a business analyst. So So looking at TC2, here we have search for non-existing products, and this is the step you need to do. Enter a name of the product not in the inventory, click search button or press enter, and you get, after doing that, search page result displayed a message indicating no result. So if this, then it has to be passed. So everything must correspond to the expected result. If it doesn't match the expected result, then you need to fail. And that is how you capture everything. So this is how a simple test case should look like. So, but don't bother yourself about trying, because we are going to, but if you can capture it at this point, it's very good. But it's a document that we need to capture in these are some of the key documents and deliverables we need to produce within our project. So this is a key responsibility for the business analyst. So you take notes for the aspiring business analyst. And for the project manager, you are accountable to make sure that we have all these documents before we start implementing. Then we have resource allocation. Resource allocation, this is a key responsibility of the project manager. Details. Resource allocation plan details the allocation of resources. When we talk about resources, it's not only, we talk about human resources, financial resources, and material resources throughout the project. So, and this is what you do with a project plan. So we use project plan to create this. So that is a very good project plan is a very good resource allocation plan. So this is a simple example of resource allocation plan with schedules. Here you capture the resources, you capture the tasks, you capture the estimated hours assigned to, availability, start date, and end date. So if you are creating a project plan, this is how it's going to look like. But the project plan is a very big, robust plan that captures a lot and even beyond that. So these are some of the things we are going to use project planners, project planning softwares like Microsoft Project, Project Labor, Oracle Primavera, and the rest. So there are so many of them. But we are going to use Project Labor to do this because this is the only free software that can help us to do this. But if you can pay, good and fine, you can buy Microsoft Project. So this is the document, and let's look at it. In the resources, the first resource we have here is developer by name John. Then you state the tags, develop core website functionalities, login, product, and browsing. Estimated hour, you capture the estimated hour, and then assign to who? John. Availability for this work, 40 hours per week. And then start dates, and then the end date. This is how this is simple resource schedule. I say simple. You know, when we're looking at our project plan, it goes beyond this simple resource. So we can't just, but let us start it from the simple and then progress. We're going to look at it in detail when we're going to be discussing techniques like creating project plan. We're equally going to look more in depth into work breakdown structure. So here you see designer. The designer's name is Sarah, and the task here or deliverable here is design website layout and user interface. The hours here is 30 hours assigned to Sarah. Availability full-time, 40 hours. Hour here is 40 hours a week, allocated 75%. So he's not taking full hour. Then this is start time and this is the end time. Then here we have quality assurance tester, which is Mike. Write and execute test cases for core functionalities. And the time estimate for this is 20 hours assigned to Mike. So it's part-time, just 20 hours. So is 20 hours here is, like you see here, is full-time. And is taking 40 hours here. 40 hours should be, let's see, it should be 100% of the hours. So it's taking the whole 40 hours. 40 hours, the standard working hour. And here you see this person, the estimated hour is 30 hours. And this the expected availability hours that every worker should work is 40 hours per week. So John taking 40 hours, it means that John is going to work for 40 hours per week, which is the normal standard hour. And you see here, the designer, Sarah, here is taking only 30 hours, meaning that is the amount of hour that particular person is committing to that project in a week. In a project, some people are working full-time, some people are working partial full-time, some people are working part-time. Like here is partial full-time. You see, it's only committed 75 hours per week. He's not working full 40 hours. So I see, and here you see this tester, which is Mike, is only committing only 50, let's say, 50%. So it's not, is a part-time in this project. And we'll see here, we'll have another content writer here. This content writer is only doing 15 hours of this. So this is the available time for this content writer. So, and this is, let's see, %30 of the hour. And then we'll have the project manager here. You can see the project manager here is committing only 10 hours in monitoring this project. And the project manager here is only 25% is committed. So in summary, as a project manager, it means that the project manager might just do work only one day. The project manager can just come, have a meeting to monitor the progress of every team member, and that's it. So this is how you create a work resource allocation. You allocated time to every team member. So you need to plan it in such a way that everybody knows what they are doing, when they are doing it, how much hours they are committing. That's why you see in a project, you see a lot of people doing part-time, from doing full-time. As a project manager, you should be able to know how to plan this very well. At times, it depends on the resources available. So you look at where the main work is and allocate more resources to that. You can see that here, they've seen that the developer is doing most of the work. Everything in this project, the developer is everything revolving around the developer's work. So when the developer finish, other content designers, they are designing for developer. So developer here have a lot of work to do. And even the tester here is everything to test what the developer is doing. And the project manager is just to have like one day comes to look at the progress, review the work of all the team members. So this is a very simple project resource allocation plan. You can call it a project plan, you know. So, but this is very simple. This is very basic. When we are going to look at project planning in detail as a strategy, we have to look at a full-blown project plan and capture it using project labor. Then we have requirement documentation. Requirement documentation captures and define the project requirements, including functional and non-functional and technical specification. So before you start work or start implementation, the first thing you have to start from the designing your solution is to capture both functional and non-functional requirements, technical specification for that particular solution or project. So you need to capture all these things and then prioritize them. If you capture them, you give them name, you prioritize them, and equally source them. So looking at this simple, we can call this a product backlog. Some call it product backlog, you know, but at this point, I just want us to understand it as a requirement documentation plan, because product backlog is only being used in agile environments, but we equally implement projects or solutions in waterfall environment. And in waterfall environment, there's nothing like product backlog. So let's just look at it and see the name as requirement documentation. So looking at this simple requirement documentation for a mobile app, the first thing is the requirement ID, a unique ID, which here you see REQ001, which means requirement 001. Here you describe the requirement. User can create a new account or log in using an existing account. So this is a functional requirement and the priority is high. We need to prioritize the requirement. Some people will now say, how do we know how to prioritize it? Yes, you have to have a meeting. It's not you don't work alone. You have a project team. To have a meeting, even with the stakeholders, to know which requirement is high requirement. That's why we say we decide which requirement is high, and here the source is, this is user story. So every requirement is not a user story. User story is telling the story of how a functionality works from the point of view of a user, from the user point of view. That's what they mean by user story. We're going to talk about that in details in business analysis. Then we have REQ 002. That is requirement 002. The login process must be secured and use two-factor authenticator for added security. So this is a non-functional requirement and is very high. Non-functional requirement is because this particular requirement is not going to be built into that particular feature as a function. So most of the time, this two-factor authenticator is nowhere in so many of the software we are using is not inbuilt there. So many of them is a third party. You have to do any kind of integration, third party authenticator that will help you to provide this. So it's not, you are not going to go anywhere and see this two-factor authenticator as where you can press it as a button. So, but it's functional within that software. This is what we call non-functional requirements. You cannot see any functionality or feature where you can feel it, press the button, and you see it working, but it's there. So it's called non-functional and it's high because it's all about security. You have to add another layer of security in that particular application. You can see security best practice. So it's not a user story. Then the third one here is user can browse through a list of available products category by type. This is functional requirement. And you see here is medium, is a user story. Because once you go to the application, you should be able to see categories where you can browse various products under categories. So you can see that. So it's functional, is medium, and is user story. Then we'll have product listing. Product listing must display clear images, titles, descriptions, and prices. It's functional and is medium. So this is a user interface design mockup. Can be a mockup. It can equally be user story, but this can be called a user interface design mockup. Then we'll have requirement 5. A user can add items to their shopping cart for future purchase. This is functional requirement. It's medium. It's called user story. And then here, C's will have shopping cart must display the quantity, items, and total price for each item. This is functional requirement. This is medium. This is user interface. It can equally be called user story as well. So this is how you capture all of them. So that is a simple document of requirement documentation. You can see how we document our requirement and describe how what every requirement represents, and the type of requirement, and the priority, and the source. So this is a very key document in a project. This is a key function of a business analyst. So at times, so many project managers might not know how to do this. I've gone so many places. I worked as a business analyst. Project managers do not even have knowledge of how to create it, but they must understand the basics like this that will guide them. In most cases, I teach them or guide them to understanding it more. But the point here is that a business analyst should do this very well. But project manager, you must have good knowledge of this. Even if you cannot produce it, you need to have good knowledge of this, because you need to make sure it's done and it's done properly. You are the accountable person. Now we have another document called deployment plan. This outlines the procedure and timeline for deploying project deliverable into production operation environment. When you finish implementing a solution or a software, you do not push it immediately into the production environment. So in software development, we have two types of environment. We have production environment, and we have developer environment. Development environment is where the developers are actually building on configuring that solution. And the production environment is the environment where the users will have to start using that software. You see, in our case, for this particular NIRAS, this product has been a production environment. We have been building it, testing it. At the moment, it's still in production environment. No, sorry, in development environment, because we are carrying out testing. We've done our testing, but you can see even before going to the production environment, Google Play Store still need to require us to conduct another in-house testing before pushing it to production environment where users will start using it. So once it's approved by Google Play Store, it will be available. So if you go to Google Play Store and search NIRAS, you will see it and people can start downloading. But for now, this application is in Google Play Store, but you cannot see it. If you type it, you cannot see it because it's not yet in production environment. So you as a project manager or the project, you need to have plan for the production, how to move the product from dev environment to production environment. At times, a product can stay even up to 1 year. It's ready, but it's not yet in production environment. So they have to decide how to move it. They can be deployed stages by stages, depending on, they can start rolling it out stages by stages. So this is where we do the plan and capture it in a document. So here we have simple deployment plan example. We have stages here. The first stage is pre-deployment. Pre-deployment is not yet in the production environment, is pre-deployment. And you need to state what needs to be done at every stage of this deployment. Now, prepare environment and application for deployment. Like in our own, all this process of trying to meet Google requirement by making sure that up to 20 testers carry out in-house testing before we go is part of the preparation. So activities here are back up existing website files and database, Test the updated application in a staging environment. Then identify rollback plan in case of issues. What is rollback? A rollback is when you are deploying and there is a situation, you can roll it back, recall it back to the dev environment. So the responsibility, you need to state whose responsibilities to do that. Here you can see development team and operations team. And here you state the timeline for doing that. Here you say it can be done in 1 day, it can be done in 2 days, depending on your team and your team plan. Then deployment stage. You see, from pre-deployment to deployment. Then under deployment, you push the updated application to the server. Now you push it to the server where the whole general public will start using the system. Update website file and database. This is the activities that need to be conducted at this deployment stage. Update website files and database on the production server. Implement any necessary configuration changes. Monitor the system performance after deployment. And this is done by the operations team. You state the number of the duration is going to take. It can be 2 hours, can be depending 2 days, it can be a day work, or it's like 2 hours operation. And then you capture post-deployment stage. Post-deployment is after is now deployed, is now in production environment. This verify successful deployment and address any issue. After deploying, you need to verify how successful it is and check if there is any issues. Perform smoke testing to ensure core functionalities work as expected. Monitor website traffic and user activities for anomalies. Address any bug or errors reported after deployment. In some cases, some software or application can receive a tremendous, traffic, and it start affecting the application. You find out the application or the server is cannot take the kind of traffic. So these are some of the things you need to weigh, because when you deploy, you have to monitor for such anomalies and then wait for necessary action to do that. So who does that? The quality assurance team and the operations team. And it takes, like, depending on the plan, you guys can be 2 days, can be 1 week. So this is what you do at this stage. At this stage, the application is now in the public server for people to start downloading or people to start logging in and start using it. And then we have the final stage, which is rollback if necessary. You must make provision for that to revert to various versions in case of critical issue. You can recall the application back if there is critical issue, or if you are deploying an update, if the update is not going well or there is issue identified within that update, you can recall back to the initial version. So that's why we have version control in all this application. Any update, you must version it. Anything you add to that particular software is now going to be a version 2. And when you are creating version 2, you are not going to throw version 1 away. You need to leave version 1 the way version 1 is, and then roll version 2. If version 2 is having a problem because version 1 is already stable, you roll back to version 1 and then go and rectify the fault in version 2 before bringing back version 2. So this is the way. You must have a plan on how to roll back if necessary. So this is it. It can be revert to previous version in case of critical issue. Activities here is deploy the previous website version from backup, analyze root cause of the deployment failure, and implement corrective action. And the team here is operations, team and development team, and the time is as needed. So that is it. So this deployment plan brings us to the end of this documentation. There, like I said, there are so many documents, but we've just captured the main documents you are going to use. You know, there's countless of documents people use this in software or project management. But these are documents, for me, I believe that you need to get you started as a project manager in your project. So we're going to be fast, so I'm going to give you time to ask a few questions before, but immediately it's 8:30, I'll be leaving this session. So let's go back and have some interaction. Say you Femi, I don't know why you've been why you are this thing has been creating some noise at the background. Okay, let's be fast. Let's use the remaining time to achieve something. I can see Fine Power Global. You're raising your hand.
Hello, good evening, sir. My questions have already been answered. I just wanted to know if there was a product backlog, and it has already been answered. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Adeze or the Onye.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Actually, really finding it very difficult somehow to understand this whole thing. But all these documents listed, when do we actually apply them? Is it before or during the project itself or after the project?
Okay. When we are starting, if you are following very well, what we did before talking about documentation, we talk about project life cycle. We say that project life cycle are various stages in a project. We have, like we captured up to 5 stages, or it can be 4, where we have an initiate stage, which is the initial stage. We have a define stage, which is the second stage, where you have to start designing the solution. Then we have the 4th stage, where you need to start implementing or executing the solution, and the closure stage. And we have another stage where we call monitoring and control, where you monitor and control the project. And we say that at every stage, we have documents to produce. Call it deliverable, call it document. Each deliverable means you need to produce 1 document. And these are various documents we said that we need to be producing. We name all the documents that are very, very necessary to produce, that need to be captured at every point. So he said that everything you are very confused or you do not understand there. I don't know what you mean by that. You do not understand how we started or how we get to here or how to apply. Your question is a bit not well specified where you are struggling. So he said he can't understand anything. I don't know if from introduction to now.
Actually, sister, is when to apply them, but you've made me understand that there are stages where you can actually apply documents. So it's just when to apply those documents that I'm confused about.
Okay. Is this document, we need to apply this document at every stage. So which will say coming, we need to list all these documents. We are going to create, like I said, when we come to work breakdown structure, we are going to create a detailed, if you are listening, I said we are going to have a detailed work breakdown structure and project plan. So when you have a detailed work breakdown structure and project plan, you will see that every stage you will see some of these documents appearing. So when you are seeing it, you already know about these documents already. So we have Gosson 1204.
Good evening, Mr. Charles, and good evening, all in the house. My question is in regard to these deliverable documents. I want to ask, does all projects require all of these documents, or does it depend on the scope or the size of the or the demand of the project that we require the amount of document that should be deliverable?
This is the minimum amount of documents you are going to be requiring. I say minimum. Some people might require, depends so more than, but at this point, this is the document you need to do a very solid project, you know. So if it is too much, I'm sorry to say that this is not too much, it's minimum requirement. Because by the time we are looking at, by the time we break, we have 4 stages, let me say 4 key stages. We've captured like 19 documentation or 19 documents. Okay. When you break 19 divided by 4, what do we have? Or let's say, 20 divided by 4. Yeah.
That should be 5 documents.
So in every stage, you are producing 5 documents. Is it too much?
It might not be, but I'm just trying to imagine some, maybe a project that is not much.
There's not a project is a project. There's nothing, no project is bigger than one another. You know, a project is a project. We don't have a project that is not much. We said a project, and the project we stated the life cycle of a standard project. So are you mean that the project is not much, we are not going to have closure deliverables? Or you mean that the project is not so much, we are not going to have initiation documents? Or we mean the project is so small, we are not going to have planning stage or designing stage of that project? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, because I feel that there may be some project that be here may not be needed. And there are some of the deliverables.
Give us example.
I have no example in mind yet.
So then you don't have, it should be specific. As I say, in business analysis and project management, where we can't base anything we do on assumption. We talk on facts and figures. There's nothing like you don't have anything in mind. Anything you should be talking or saying in business analysis and project management, you must have key figures to back it up. If you say that something is smelling, you must say what is smelling like.
It is fine, Mr. Charles. It's okay. It's
Okay.
just my concepts, though, about scopes of projects, and the locality may also have its influence. So that is why I brought this forth.
There is no, when we're talking about projects, we don't consider localities. You know, if we are saying that, some people will say Nigerian factor. There is nothing like Nigerian factor in projects. Project is a project. We shouldn't use it as an excuse, and or maybe that's the way things are not working as we expected because we don't use best practices and use a factor locality to make sure that what we are doing do not bring the best. So I will take another question from Alex of 4, and we close because of my time. I would have loved to engage you guys more, but Alex, if you can be fast.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Charles. Good evening, everyone. I enjoyed the lecture this evening. Thank you so much. My question is on the training material you explained at the beginning of the class. You also mentioned user guide, which you said is a business analysis job. So my question is, during the project, and if you don't have a user analysis person to do that job, can a project manager do that job, the user guide?
If you have the skill of, if they employ you as a business analyst through a project manager, you are working in the capacity of hybrid, then you can do that. But you cannot have, it means if you need to have a business analyst and you don't have a business analyst to do their job, and you are not a business analyst, is it whose fault? You. If you don't have enough work to, then your project cannot produce good results.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, Fumilayo and Kenneth, I'm so sorry. Put your question in the platform. I will respond to them. And like I said, we are kicking into, if you have not filled that form, please do fill it, because by Monday I will start onboarding new people to the project environment where we are going to start our first project. Monday I will start onboarding. So please, if you've not done that, use this weekend to do that. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank
you and bye-bye.
Bye.
Mr.
Bye.
Charles.